What is going on, YouTube? Welcome back to another video here. We are in the garage once again, and as always, I know it gets a little boring, but we are going to be wrapping up that transmission cooler today. Before that, we were messing with some lighting here. Take a look at that. And here, I mean, like, just look at those things. They're wild looking. Actually, Mark turned me onto these. I got them at Rural King, 5,000 lumens, only 50 watts. They are pretty impressive, to say the least. The problem is I counted, I still need like 10 more, and they're 20 bucks a pop. So I mean, it adds up. But just seeing the difference that it made just here is pretty wild. But anyway, not to get distracted. So right now I have the lines set up to be cut here. We got to get those trimmed, and then we got our relay here. We're gonna go over this. This thing's actually kind of neat how they have it wired and what it can do. So we're gonna go over that. We just got to get this in, get everything hooked up, run our lines. Got some self-tapping screws for these clamps, and yeah, I mean, we're in the home stretch here. I like to get this thing driving today, maybe get it out on the road. So first things first, we're going to get those lines cut, and then yeah, just start plugging away on this thing. All right, so we got the first one cut there. You can see I have some tape wrapped around where we cut. Just use the cut-off wheel. That's pretty much the best way to do it. It's actually a pretty clean cut, as you can see there. But the tape, hang on. The tape keeps all of the stainless, won't focus. It keeps all the stainless braided stuff from going crazy when you cut it. So real important to tape that stuff when you cut it. But yeah, cut-off wheel works pretty good. We're just gonna do the other one and then get our fittings back on, and yeah. So now that we have the lines done and ready to go there, we are gonna work on everybody's favorite wiring. So here is the relay, and it's actually a pretty nice piece. I think it was 20 or 30 bucks. I was a little disappointed that it didn't come with a fuse. Luckily I had this just kind of in that cabinet there. You do have to put in the fuse on the fan lead, which is this orange one here. So basically how this works is your yellow wire will go to switched power. I'm actually just going to tie it in with the fuse with my lift pump. So this is like basically key on signal. And then the orange lead goes back to the fan. The red lead here goes directly to 12 volts. So it'll go to that power box where we originally ran that black wire up there. It will go directly to that, and then this will get connected to the black wire that goes the whole way back. And then the black one is just chassis ground, so we're just going to ground that up here. I think that should work. Just ground this up in the front here, and then I have the fan grounded back there. I don't think I should have to run this the whole way. And then the green wire is pretty cool, actually. So what it says you can do with this is you can tie it to the AC compressor. My guess would be this wire here. So when you turn your AC on, the fan would come on. So that's kind of a cool little, you know, I'm not going to use that obviously because we have the thermostat, but I thought it was kind of a cool little perk of the relay here. But yeah, so anyway, basically I'm just adding in some extra length to the ground here. I have the wire sitting back there, so we gotta solder that in. We gotta solder this fuse holder in, and then we will put the relay in and button up our wires, and yeah, so let's move forward here and do this. Okay, so we got the ground wire length in there. You can see the joint there, and then got our fuse holder in. A little thing about wiring here, guys. A lot of people skip steps like this. Like they not cheap out, but they skip doing wiring the right way. I mean, I'm not saying you got to solder everything. I definitely don't. But if you can solder something, you really should, and heat shrink it, cover it up nice, and it's just it's the better way to do it. Butt splices, sometimes you don't have an option, but the problem is when you're doing stuff on the outside of the truck like this, you want to, especially if it's, you know, going to be like on the frame or underneath or in the back, like the cooler, like you want to solder everything in it, you know, that you can. So if, like I said, if I have the option, I always try and solder. Does it take time? Absolutely. But you know, you don't really have to necessarily worry about issues down the road. So that's why we take the time to do that. I'm probably going to just cut this green wire out because we're not going to use that AC ordeal. And then we'll move up into the truck there and finish this off. A lot longer later, we have all the wiring done except for back at the actual fan itself. So we tapped the signal wire or the ignition wire into this with the lift pump. This is for the lift pump here. You can see our relay back in there. Everything's wire loomed. We ran the ground right here with the lift pump. The power obviously right there. And then we do have this wire for the, you know, going to the actual fan itself, soldered together. Just got to kind of pull it back and tuck it away. So the hard part is pretty much done. Not too bad at all. So we're gonna button up the wiring in the back there, and then we will put the lines in and start tucking those up. All right, so we got the wire along the frame there all zip tied and tied up, and then everything is connected. We tested the fan and bypassed the thermostat here just to make sure that, you know, it came on with the key, and it did. So yeah, that's all said and done. Thankfully didn't have to run a ground the whole way up the frame rail, but yeah, so we're gonna work on getting the lines in, and then we'll get those tied up and clamped up, and that's pretty much it. We'll top it off with some fluid and go for a drive here. So we did wrap up the lines. Gonna trail the whole way back here. Here's where we started clamping them. 3 clamps. Just using some self-tapper, like sheet metal screws. Right there. And then come back here. Turned out pretty good. So let's go get this thing filled up and go for a drive. Alright, so we've been driving this thing around for quite some time now, and the fluid has reached 195 degrees, and we still have no fan. So we got to figure something out, because that's the thermostat should be turning on at 180 degrees, and we're well past that now. So either we have a wiring issue, which we shouldn't, because we tested it without the thermostat and everything worked, and then just hooked up the thermostat. So I'm gonna ride around for a few more minutes just to see if we can get it to kick on. I mean, it's 30 degrees outside, so it's actually even pretty impressive that we got it to warm up this much, being as cold as it is. So that proved that point at least. But we need to figure out what's going on here, so stay tuned. Okay, so what we did, I came home here, truck's in high idle. We're at 200 degrees. What I did was just went back here and jumpered the fan. So the fan is running, you can see that. We'll see how it does cooling the fluid off just sitting here. So, but we're gonna have to figure something out with Durali. I'm gonna call them Monday probably. So we've been sitting here for a few minutes, and you can see the temp is down to 159. So clearly when the fan works, it does a great job. Like I said, we're sitting here, we're not even driving, so there's no airflow going over it to, you know, blow away the heat. It's just the fan working right now, and it's working really good. So we just got to figure out that thermostat ordeal. All right, with that being said, guys, we're gonna wrap this video up. We got the truck back inside here. We can clearly see that the cooler works very, very, very well, but we have to figure out that thermostat issue, whether that's I got a faulty thermostat, or we got to get a different thermostat from someone else, something. But when we get it good, it's gonna work really good. I'll never have to worry about this thing probably overheating ever again. It brought that temp down so fast, even being that hot. Granted, it was really cold outside, but I think it's gonna work pretty good, especially if you're driving around or whatever. So I really appreciate you guys tuning in. Thank you. And if you haven't already, please like and subscribe. And we will catch you on the next one. Thanks, guys. See ya.